Welcome to Looplearnings, and in today's video I'm going to demonstrate VBA coding, and this is the video number 12. And if you haven't watched the first 11 videos, I would strongly recommend you to go ahead and watch those as well. Links for those videos are in the description below for your ease. And in last video what we did the VBA coding for two forms, three forms, perhaps two forms, sorry, categories form, and then we did VBA coding for employees form. One thing I forgot to do, actually, there is another operation that generally happens, and that is the update operation, right? So sometimes the update needs to be done. So for example, the CNIC number is changed, or mobile number is changed, or address is changed, or salary is changed. You have to save the update. You have to update the information. So there are two ways to update. One is either you have a separate button called update, or you can use the save button as well to perform the update action. Now what happens is, for example, if I click on save button right now, the status date here and time will also be changed. Well, the status date and time should not be changed. It should be remain same. If the employee is marked active or inactive, that date and time should remain same. It should not be changed. But this will happen if I'll click here. So let's see here. So you can see the date and time has been changed. So this is wrong, and the employee has been marked active. The employee was inactive actually. So we are going to do a little bit of VBA coding, and basically we are going to use the save button itself to do the updation. So let's go ahead and do that. So right click, design view, and it's very simple actually. There is nothing major we will have to do. So we'll say if me dot status dot value is equal greater than 0, then whatever the status is there, if there is a status, then you just update, right? Do cmd dot save. So whatever changes you have done, you just save it. Do cmd dot beep message box, or here we go. The updates are made successfully. Okay, comma, VB information, comma, and information. Right, that is it. So basically this code block will see that, first of all, it will see if the employee is already created, there is a status already, then for sure the system will just update whatever updates are made. If not, then it will proceed to the next steps. So let's go ahead and test it out. So here, if I will change the salary, for example, let's say we have done this change, and here you see the time is 11:53:07 a.m. right? So if I will click on save data, because of that code block that we have just written, it will just simply update and save the information, whatever is updated. It will not change the status date here or the status. So we'll click on save. So you can see there is no change in the status or status date. Only whatever changes we have made are updated successfully. So this code block I wanted to demonstrate because I forgot to demonstrate this in previous video. So this is important to do, and that's why I wanted to demonstrate before I proceed to today's forms. Right, now today we are going to do coding for two more forms, expense form and invoice form. So let's open the expense form. Now this expense form is used for to record any expense or record anything you will buy. For example, you see here drop down expense type. For example, you have done some advertisement, or you have paid some bills, or insurance for your building, or taxes you have paid, or travel expense, or transportation, or telephone or mobile expense. There are different type of expenses. You can see there is a huge list I have already entered in this. So any kind of expense that has to be recorded in the database, in the system, so you can later on look at what are your expenses, what are your savings, and because that will help you to understand your accounting books. And so that's why it's important to look for expenses. So that's what we are going to do. So all these yellow highlighted fields are mandatory. So basically we are going to use these yellow highlighted fields for to check all these fields. So in other words, these fields has to be filled in, and then only we can save the information. So we have two buttons, save and pay expense. So let's start with save button. Again, we are going to build the same logic behind the save button, right? So let's start with the, okay, let me get the, I want to copy error handling code. Right, on error, resume next. Error handling code is very important. I have explained the importance of it in the last video as well. So make sure that you built in the error handling, because it will help you a lot, it will help your users a lot, and most importantly it will stop your users to coming back in the backend of your system. So that's why error handling is very important. Okay, what logic we want to build? Well, the logic that we want to build is, if the status is greater than 0, then just update. So that's the first logic. If the status is equal to paid, right, because or the payment is done, then you don't want any changes to be happen, right? Because for example, let's assume that you have a process that you bought something, and you will fill in the value. So for example, you bought, let's say, some personal care items from your suppliers, and your supplier has given you the invoice of 1,500, and you paid the same amount of 1,500, and therefore if payment is done, then the status should be paid, correct? Paid mean the everything is done, it is closed. So if the status of expense is paid, then there should not be any changes happening, right? And also these fields should be non-editable if the status is paid. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. Okay, so let's start. If me dot status dot value greater than 0, then toCMD.beep message box, the updates are made successfully. Okay, it will be VB information, and the heading also information. Else if me.status dot value is equal to fully paid, then doCMD.beep message box, this action cannot be performed as the expense is marked fully paid. Actually, this code block should be first actually. All right, we'll make the changes. This will be VB critical. Yeah, so this code block should be actually first, because first of all you want to see this. If that is false, then you want to proceed further. If that is true, then you want to stop right there. So yeah, right, so this is the, well, you can see that I'm doing live changes. So this is what happens when you're doing coding and when you're thinking about different changes that needs to be done. So that's why I'm doing these changes. Right, so these logics are built. Now let's write the code for each of these fields. Right, so let's look for expense for is mandatory. Else if is null, me dot expense for dot value, oops, is equal to true, then toCMD.beep message box, please choose the expense, please choose the month from the drop down list. Okay, there we go. Now let's copy this. Oops, we need to do another thing. So me dot expense for dot set focus. Let's copy this. Okay, supplier please choose the supplier who has supplied you the item. Very important. Description, so it's very important to provide the description. What have you bought? Please type in the description of expense. Okay, after description, expense type, me dot expense type, please choose the expense type from drop down list. Okay, reference document number. So this is very important. Of course, when you will buy something from someone, or when you are paying some bills, whether it's telephone bills or internet bill, every type of expense will have some sort of invoice or number. So that information is required to save in this field. Okay, so me dot reference doc, please provide the reference document number. Okay, after this, what was the bill value? So me dot bill value, bill value of the expense. Okay, apologies for these noises. Amount paid, actually these fields: amount paid, payment mode, payment reference document, and paid on. These will be triggered, or these will be performed by clicking on pay expense button, not by save button. Okay, so until now we are done with the save button. Else, created on the day, your date and time you are creating, me dot created on dot value is equal to now. And then me dot status dot value is equal to new expense, status date, me dot status date dot value is equal to now. Payment due date. Well, if you will see, some suppliers, they may give you the what do you call, the some days to pay the amount, right? So if I will go to the supplier table, and you will say that credit, you will see that credit days, right? So some supplier will say, okay, we can make an agreement with you. If you will buy from us from the date of purchase till 15 days or 20 days, whatever number of days they will decide, you can give us back the payment. So if that is the case, then we want those credit days to be calculated here, payment due date. And that will happen with this particular. So if I'll go here, you can see credit days, right? So this is the third column, 0, 1, 2, and we will refer to this credit days. Okay, so we'll come here, me dot payment due date dot value is equal to me dot, so we'll change it to 3 because there were 3 columns, and we'll make it 0 centimeter. We don't want to show how many number of credit days, but we just want to refer it. So me dot supplier, me dot supplier dot column, we are referring to number 3 column, which will be number 2, plus now. Okay, from today. So if we are creating invoice today, so or if they have delivered us today, so we will add the number of credit days, that will be our payment due date. So if their credit days is 0, for example, some supplier would say, no, we will give you the supply of the products that you want, but we don't want to delay our payment, so you have to give the payment on same day. Fine, the payment due date will be same date as if today. But some suppliers may give you time that we will give you 10 days, 15 days or 50 days to give us back the payment. So that should be according to that. Okay, so that's how you do it. It will be automatically calculated, and automatically this field will automatically filled in. Right, so status, state, payment due date, created on, all of these are done, and so we can finally save it. Do cmd dot save, to cmd dot beep message box, the expense has been created successfully. VBA information not critical, comma, information, and if. There we go. All right, but the problem is we cannot test it. Reason is because we don't have supplier yet. We have to create a supplier, and that is till the last. But rest assured, this code will definitely work the way I did it. If you will do it, it will definitely work. Now let's go ahead and do the pay expense. Do the pay expense. Please choose the month. Right. Pay the expense. So for this button, we want to look for amount paid, payment mode, paid payment reference document number, paid on, so that date and time, and if any remarks. Okay, now there will be a little bit of trick here that we need to look for. Okay, so error handling code first. Right, so if is null, me dot status, if me dot if already fully paid, we'll put the same code block here. If already fully paid, then we don't have to look for this. So we will just close it. So we'll say that this section cannot be performed as the expense is marked as fully paid. Then also we need to look for, well, first of all, if is null, me dot expense ID dot value is equal to true, then do cmd dot beep message box, this action cannot be performed. Will be critical information. Else if. So else if fully paid, then also this action cannot be performed. Right, now amount paid, this field should not be empty. So we'll copy that, paste here. Else if me dot amount paid, okay, is equal to true, then we'll say please provide the amount paid information. Then we'll set focus. Then amount paid, payment mode we want. Amount paid, payment mode. Please choose the payment mode from drop down list. Next one is a payment reference document. Now I made this field because, you know, in big companies or big organizations, account department have their own documentation for each kind of expense they are paying. So in that case, they might have a separate reference document number which has to be provided. But since this is a small application for a small number of users and for small grocery shop, this will be the same, exactly same as expense ID. There should not be any difference. So expense ID will be the same, payment reference number. This is my own thought for this particular form, but as I mentioned, for big companies the accounts department will have separate documentation. So for that they will be giving you the documentation number that needs to be provided here, but I'll keep the same expense ID here as well. Okay, then we will look for paid on. Me dot paid on, please provide the payment date. Okay, else this equal to this, me dot payment reference document number dot value is equal to me dot expense ID dot value. And now we have to look for, so for example, if bill value if the amount paid is equal to bill value, then go ahead and mark it as fully paid, because whatever the bill value is being paid fully, so that will be fully paid, correct? But if the amount paid is less than the bill value, then it should be asking the question, hey, the amount paid is less than the bill value, And if you will go ahead, this will mark as partially paid. Are you sure to proceed? Sometimes this can happen. So for example, 2000 was the bill value, you want to pay 1500 right now, 500 you want to pay later perhaps. So that's why you want to have this information, this message box throw on you, that hey, the amount paid value is less than the bill value. Do you still want to proceed? So that we want to have this information in here. Okay, so to do that, what we need to do, we need to get a message box. So we'll say if me dot amount paid dot value is less than me dot bill value dot value, then right here we will say Tim response as integer. Okay, so I'm thinking whether should we put both logics, that if amount paid is equal to bill value, then go ahead and proceed and mark it as the fully paid, or should we put both logics in it? So that's what I'm thinking. If amount paid is less than bill value, then throw a message. Yeah, then response is equal to message box. The amount paid is less than the bill value. Are you sure? Are you sure to proceed further? Okay, right, and we will ask question plus we will ask VB yes and no, and title would be choose an option, parentheses close. If response is equal to VB yes, then me dot status dot value is equal to partially paid, me dot status date dot value is equal to now. What else? That is it, I believe. Else do nothing, and we will close this. One more, and now else if me dot amount paid dot value is equal to me dot bill value dot value, then we'll copy this, and instead of partially we'll say fully paid status. Okay, and if Right, so this is done. So if it is fully paid, we want to do something else as well. If it is fully paid, we want all of these fields to be non-editable, and that makes sense, correct? So the moment it is marked as fully paid, then we want it to be non-editable. So let's go ahead and do that. Me dot allow additions is equal to false. Me dot allow deletions is equal to false. Me dot allow edits is equal to false. We'll copy the same. Okay, let's debug it, and we will put behind the form as well, onload event as well. So if it is fully paid, then if me dot status dot value is equal to fully paid, then nothing should be allowed to be added or edit or deleted. And if of course we want to copy error handling. All right, so that's the coding for expense form. Wow, it took a little bit time. I thought I will be covering 2 forms, but I think that's enough for today. I hope you have learned something, and if you like this video, smash the like button. Tell me in the comments below, what did you learn, what did you not, and thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.